Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It is Motivation Monday. This is Motivation Monday for medical coding students. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. I really love sharing the things that I know with all of you. So I hope you'll take a second, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and at the end, if this video helps you, I hope that you will share it. So let's get started. All right. I have been getting lots and lots of emails from medical coding students who are saying that this is just too much for them. They want to quit because it is just more than what they expected and they don't think that they can do it and they just want to give up. All right, this is not a prepared speech. I am going completely off the cuff on this. I do that when I know that I'm going to think of things as I'm speaking. So bear with me. Now, here's the thing. If you truly wanted to quit studying, if you wanted to quit, if you wanted to stop, you would have stopped. You don't need my permission to stop. If you want to quit, by all means, I can't stop you. But I will say this, if you are wanting my advice. The thing about staying motivated when you are a medical coding student is this. Is it going to get difficult? Absolutely. Are you going to question your knowledge and your thought process along the way? Of course. I came into this field with no background in medical at all whatsoever. I wanted to be an attorney. That was my whole goal when I was a child, was to be an attorney. But life doesn't always turn out the way that you think, okay? And a lot of things happened in my young adulthood that shaped how my life has turned out now. I love what I do. I adore being a medical coder. I don't think that there's anything else in the world that I would want to do other than this, other than being with my providers and coding every day and reaching out to new people in the industry like you all that are studying and just being there and being a positive force, because not everybody has that positive force when they are studying. And it's really easy when you start to have that self-doubt and then you have others around you that sort of like cheer you on and be like, yeah, you know, just go ahead and give it up. It's just too hard. It's too much. You're never going to get a job, yada, 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 yada. But if you stop and think about it, the things that you have to work the hardest for are the things that are worth it. Now, I had a very, 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 very wonderful support system, which was my mom. Just her. That was all I needed. And when she's passed on, but when I was going through medical coding school, I was going through a very huge transition in my life. If you've watched any of my videos, you know my story, but if you're new, I was going through a divorce at the time, and I literally had moved from my husband's house back to my mom's house, and I was going through that huge transition. My motivation was I wanted something better for my life. If you've gotten into medical coding because you want something better for your life, you need to stick with that. Even on these times when it's getting difficult and you're like, oh my gosh, medical terminology, I'm never going to learn this. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. Because you thinking that you can't do something, it is just a thought. It is not absolute. It is not set in stone. It is not written anywhere that you can't do it, because yes, you can. These invasive thoughts will come into your mind because that is our human nature, right? When we all of a sudden start having that self-doubt and we're like, oh no, can we really do this? Is this such a good idea? Yes, it is, because people are working every day as medical coders. Brand new medical coders are getting hired every day. Now, how do they do that? By being persistent. And some of them, it is just luck. Is it difficult to get a job in the beginning? Absolutely. But do not let that scare you if you're already in the program to learn medical coding. Don't let that scare you just because somebody else couldn't get hired. There's a myriad of reasons why people cannot get hired or why people are not getting hired. Because, like I said, there's a lot of things that go into it. What does their resume look like? How are they presenting themselves? Are they passing a background check? Can they pass the entry test for that facility? Have they been studying? And are they still carrying these skills on to show their new employer that they can do this? Are they applying at temporary agencies to sort of get those assignments, and then they can put that on their resume? There is a lot of things that people aren't doing because either they don't know or they just don't have anybody to tell them about it. So I hope that if you are brand new to my channel, that you're watching these videos. I've got a ton of them. Check out my playlists. I've got a lot of things that I cover in this field, because if you don't know, it is easy to give it up, okay? But you owe it to yourself before you stop and before you say, well, I don't think I can do it, I'm just going to give it up. You owe it to yourself to answer these questions. Why did I want to get into this? Don't I want to do something better with myself, better with my life, and do all of these things? Is it hard? Is it going to make you work for it? Is medical coding going to make you work for it? Absolutely. But the reward in the end, and being able to have a career that you actually love, that is amazing, because not everybody gets that. Not everybody has where they've been trained, they've gone to college, they've done a certain program, whatever, what have you, and all of a sudden they're in the field that they've been trained, like being an attorney. I'm just going to use that as a example. And some people hate it. People who are attorneys, some of them can't stand being an attorney, and others really love what they do. And you can tell the difference between the two, right? Who would you rather have if you needed an attorney? Somebody that needs to defend you. Would you rather have somebody who's passionate, who loves it, who is driven and is there every day because they're showing up? Even the people who love their job have days when it is difficult for them. Do you think that maybe sometimes they've ever thought of giving it up? Sure. But you know what? They show up again the next day and they keep at it until it's what they want again. Because that feeling is always going to stay there. When you find joy, when you find happiness in what you're doing, it's going to come back. These feelings of negativity are very fleeting, right? Anytime that you feel like, oh, I hate this, I can't stand studying medical coding, I can't stand it. It's all up here. That's all mental. It is just a temporary, fleeting emotion. But if you stay with that fleeting emotion, then you're just going to give up everything that you've already learned. All that time you spend away from your family, from your kids, from your friends, from your spouse, your loved ones, all of that time is just down the drain because you followed this fleeting emotion. Think about that, guys. You need to stick with what you're doing. Stick with it through thick and thin. Because if you say, well, I'm just going to give it up, no one can stop you. No one can stop you, not even me. Not even me. All I can tell you is that if you're always going to stop like that, you're always going to stop. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be you decide to do something else. You decide to be a nurse, or you decide to do accounting, or you decide to do like construction or something like that. The second it gets hard, you're going to run. And then what are you going to have after that? So if you're struggling right now with medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, or looking up the codes, stick with it. Show up every day. Put in the hard work. And the hard work is those flashcards. Now people say, well, Blue, I don't want to do flashcards. Then don't do them. You don't want to do them? Then don't do them. But I'm telling you, if you want to start learning this stuff, the old-fashioned ways really do work. And oh, well, I got a little app on my phone. That app on your phone is not helping you. I'm telling you that right now. Do you know why? Because when you are doing something and you're engaging your handwriting into it, it's committing it to your brain. And while you may not think about it at that moment, and while it may not even seem like it, believe it or not, your brain is like, okay, we're working with this. This is what we're doing. We're learning medical terminology, we're learning anatomy, physiology, we're learning pharmacology, we're learning all of these abbreviations. We're learning this stuff. It's being recorded in your mind. You just have to go with it. And you have to stop fighting that feeling of, I can just give this up. There's no stick-to-itiveness on anything if you do that. That's my opinion on that. You have to stick with what you want to do. Now, you got into medical coding for some reason, whether somebody suggested it to you or whether you thought of it on your own. There's a lot to it. And I've always said that there's a lot to it. But the rewards the rewards of being in a field that you love. And yes, there are some days that I have rough days. There are some days that I come home and I'm crying because I've had a rough day. Either I've gotten into it with my boss or I've gotten into it with a provider. But if I've gotten into it with a provider, I keep at it and I keep after it until I repair that relationship. And as far as like getting into it with them, like sometimes providers may yell at you. It happens. They have bad days too. And that's the thing. You have to understand those things. Am I human? Does it hurt my feelings? Of course. But at the same time, I'm not going to hold it against them. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep showing up every day. I'm going to keep being there for them. And no matter what they've done, I'm going to continue to search everything in their documentation to make sure that they are getting paid appropriately and at the best of my ability. That's what it is. And when it all comes full circle and that provider comes back to me and says, you know what, Blue, thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for working with me on this. I'm sorry I shouldn't have done X, Y, Z or whatever. That's what makes it all worth it. And had I given it up at the time that I was even in school, I would never have this feeling. I don't even know where I would be right now, honestly. I don't. I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing. But it probably wouldn't be this. And it's just like, okay, then where would I be? I found something in this. I can see it. And if you really apply yourself, you can see it too. It's there. And all I can tell you is don't give up and don't let yourself give up. But if you are just adamant about stopping, you don't want to do it, well, then I wish you the best on your journey, whatever it may be. Whatever makes you happy in your life. Because we only get one rodeo, folks. That's it. We just get one time around. We don't get anything else. We don't know. We get one rodeo. What are you going to make out of your life? And if it's studying medical coding and if it's really applying yourself and trying to get it, that's what you got to do. Okay? And as far as like how to stay motivated and things like that, sometimes when I've noticed that people are getting discouraged is because they're trying to run ahead of what they need to know. When you are in school, you need to learn step by step what they're teaching you. If you are in medical terminology, you need to be concentrated on medical terminology. Then if you are learning anatomy and physiology, then you need to be worried about anatomy and physiology. You don't need to be worried about medical coding, like actually looking up codes. You don't need to be worried about that. That's far off. You need to build the building blocks, which is medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, and pharmacology. Those are your building blocks right there, because you're not going to be able to understand anything when it comes to coding if you don't have those things down right. It's about commitment. It's about scheduling that time. And if you say, well, Blue, I have my kids and I can't really do that. You know what? Involve your kids. If your kids are there and they're telling you, mommy, 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 okay, or daddy, 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 okay, let's do flashcards together. Let's see how quickly they will help you, or if they'll just say, okay, let me go play my game, or let me go play outside, or do whatever I want to do. I'm just saying, and it's a bonus, because if you're sitting there and you're doing flashcards with your kids or your loved ones, and they're learning something too about medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, or pharmacology, it's a bonus, right? It's not going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt them to learn, right? So there's ways of incorporating these things. And like I said, if you are around other people that are encouraging you to quit and to say, oh yeah, you really can't do it, because I have heard that. I have heard that before, where when I was in school, there was a group of ladies, and they were older, at the time. I was in my late 20s and they were in their 40s, and they had their family members telling them that they couldn't do it. They had them saying, well, yeah, you can't do it. I don't know why you're wasting your time. This is just a big waste of time. You're never going to get a job. You're too old, or whatever the case may be. They're in their 40s, early 50s, and they were telling them that. Come on. If somebody's telling you that, Everybody has a different agenda for saying something negative. I think if you are an adult and you're going back to school, you should have an army of people behind you cheering you on, because as adults, it's hard enough to get us to pay attention, right? Because we've got all these other adult things going on, right? But to have that and to be that motivated to get into school, yeah, you're going to need a little bit more push sometimes. And it's going to take somebody to say, no, you can't give it up, you know? Or it's gonna take somebody to say, yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it. Don't give it up. Yes, you can do it. Because if you give it up, again, all of that time you've invested already to learn is just down the drain. Just because you had a fleeting thought that you couldn't do it. Or a fleeting emotion that you couldn't do it. Those are gonna go away. Those thoughts, it starts with a good mental attitude, obviously. That you can. Having that can-do attitude is going to carry you through, because you got to be able to get through the school. Then you got to be able to pass the exam, and then you got to be able to get the job. And that getting the job part, that's what's tripping up a lot of people. That, you know, they're having a hard time getting a job because every job listing says to have 1 to 3 years or 5 years of experience, and they don't apply. Apply anyway, guys. I'm telling you. Keep applying. Make sure your resume looks good. Make sure your cover letter looks good. I've talked about that in my job listings review videos. So take a look at those if you haven't had a chance to, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. And I don't want to keep going on about that part, because this is motivation. Or at least I'm trying to help you guys to stay motivated. You can do it. This time in school is just temporary, okay? So if you're feeling guilty about spending time away from your family or your kids, it is just temporary. What you do influences others. If your kids are looking at you and they're seeing you study and get through that program and just feeling those feelings of, gosh, can I learn this? And pushing through, that's what they're going to see. That's what they're going to know. Oh, okay, well, I know my parent was studying medical coding when I was young, and I saw them, and wow, they were able to get through it. They're a good influence. People are looking at you. You got to stick with it. And in those times when you feel like you can't do it, dig a little bit deeper and go for it. Show up every day. Show up to your study times. Show up and be present. Don't start thinking about all these other things like I can't do it and I'm never going to find it. Don't think about that. Think about right now, medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, and pharmacology, and then looking up codes in the book and reading those guidelines. I spoke to one medical coding student. She's in school for her RHIT. She says that once a week, that her entire class, they'll read the guidelines, the coding guidelines, just reading them. You don't have to memorize them, just read them. And you know what happens? That stuff gets stored in your brain. It's possible to learn this stuff, folks. You have to give yourself a chance to learn it. You have to be there. You have to be present. Because anything in this life that is worth it is going to take hard work. You ask any married couple that's been married for 50 years, ask them, what's the secret? And they're going to tell you it's hard work. It's not easy. When they want to give up on each other, they have to lean on each other and feel like they're going to get through it and be stubborn about it and be stubborn to want to be together. It's the same thing that you can have with your career. Because if you're going to continue to hop to all these other places because you just want to give up because it got a little hard, you're never going to get with anything. You've got to stay committed to this. And sometimes if you have an instructor that is not teaching you well, look for somebody else to explain it to you. Look up videos. Read the book. Read the book cover to cover. Whatever you're given, read it cover to cover. Oh, that's a lot, Blue. I don't know if I could do that. Okay. Well, if you have a a book that you feel like is too daunting, break it down. Read 10 pages a day. Read 20 pages a day. Whatever you feel is best. And if you've fallen off, if you've says, well, you know, I took a little bit of time off because XYZ, I wasn't feeling well, my kid or this or whatever, and I feel like I can't get back into it. Yes, you can. Get right back into it. It's like riding a bike. Okay? But you have to stay with it. That's all I can tell you guys, is if you're at that point where you just want to give it up or you think it's too hard for you, stay with it. That's the time that you need to dig your heels in. And think of the time that you got most stubborn about something. What happened? Did you get your way? 8 out of 10 times, I would say that would be true for anyone if you got stubborn about it. Okay? Get stubborn about your future. Get stubborn about what you want, what's going to make life better for you. This is a very good field. Intellectually, it is stimulating. It is everything, if that is what you want in your life. There is joy that can be found in this. But people spend a lot of time complaining because it's a little hard. Anything that you want to work for, anything that is good, is going to take some effort. It's not going to be given to you easy. Otherwise, everybody would do it. So that's my advice. If you want to do something, you can do it. And take it from me. Yes, I had my moments where I'm like, am I doing the right thing? But sticking with it is the reason that I'm here. It's the reason that I'm here with all of you. That I have my own channel on YouTube. That I have Q&A Tuesday every Tuesday. That I talk with you guys a lot. And it means so much to me when you share your stories with me. When you ask me questions, it means everything to me. Because I know that maybe you don't have somebody around to answer these questions. That's why I say I don't mind. I don't mind answering specific questions. It's the general questions that if you look through my videos, you can find videos about very general questions answered. Okay, just take a gander through them. But I hope that this helps you. If you're looking for help with understanding medical coding or medical terminology or whatever, I do medical terminology exercises. I do like crossword puzzles. I make them on my Patreon channel. So if you're interested, these Patreon levels start out at just $1 per month. And you get access to all that. So you get access to quizzes that I do, rationale videos, and like I said, the crossword puzzles. So if you're interested, it's there. And I'll leave the link for my Patreon down in the description box below. So I'm going to wrap this one up. But I hope that you guys take this the correct way. That I am just telling you guys, don't give up. But if you are set on it, you don't have to tell anybody your reasons why. Do whatever it is that's going to make you happy. But I'm telling you, before you give it up, you need to answer those questions to yourself. Is this a fleeting emotion? Why do I want to do this? And yes, I can do this. That at the end of everything that you say, yes, I can do this. It's just my advice from me to you. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. I hope you'll join me tomorrow for Q&A Tuesday. If you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.